It gets so lonely here. Ladies and gentlemen, if you have not already, be sure to check out the previous episodes of It Gets So Lonely Here, but at least make sure to watch the very last one, that being episode 5, I believe, because it will be important for this one. But otherwise, let's get right into it. You feel disoriented when you awake at long last with the rising of the sun. You do not remember what you dreamt, but you do not think that your dreams were of a particularly pleasant nature. No, that was extremely unpleasant, actually. If they were, your heart would not be hammering so. Ill at ease, you glance around. It's such an old-looking room. I don't really like it. You're lying in a narrow bed in an unremarkable room. One with dull beige walls and a warped wooden floor. Where exactly are you? This does not look like your dormitory in the conservatoire, not unless it has shrunk threefold overnight. Your brow furrows as you attempt to recall the events of the night prior, until, with a gasp, it all clicks into place. You remember now. You were running through the woods trying to escape from... You shudder. You do not want to think of what it is you are trying to escape from. I would like to think about that. I want to know what we were trying to escape from, specifically, thank you. You presumed that you must have given your hunter the slip, though, because you are still in one piece. Awake and alert enough to face the dawning of a new morning. You still have all your limbs and your facial features appear to be in the correct configuration. Well, that's a plus. That is more than enough to be getting along with. You look to the foot of your bed, then blink, bemused at your discovery. You can see, lying upon the sheets, a garment, 2 garments actually, of black and white folded into a neat white square. Is that gonna be my maid outfit? Cause I vibe that. What could that be? A maid's outfit? I think it is. If so, it would not be too surprising. You can now recall your visit with the princess the night prior and her assertions that you must be her lady's maid. Well, if that is the role she wants you to assume, you have no qualms with it. It is far preferable to the other role you played last night, that of a startled quarry running from its pursuer. You press your fingers against the humble maid's attire. It feels surprisingly soft to the touch, not coarse like you expected. Why would it be coarse? These clothes are rather fine. Did the princess put them here? If so, that is all the more reason to wear them. You are not churlish enough to deny her hospitality. You rise from your new bed, then undress yourself, oh my, unbuttoning the front of your plain white nightgown and setting it aside. This task accomplished, you then clad yourself in your new attire, black, white, and eminently sensible. You feel very far away from the girl that you once were. Your face might be the same as always, but something within you seems to have changed. You are no longer a student, not as long as you mean to reside within the princess's castle. You would far rather be her servant. Rather be a servant than a student? Alright. Assured of your newfound identity, you retreat from your chamber, then make your way to your mistress's bedroom. Oh my. The way it says that, I mean, I know mistress means master, but I mean, did we have to say it like that? You rap upon the door, but receive nothing in the way of a response. Is the princess still abed? You might be still in bed. I don't think she ever was a bed though. Pretty sure she was human. Hello? You enter the princess's bedroom and glance about. Her room looks much the same as you remember it from the night prior, though the ceiling seems even higher when viewed in the wan morning's light. You see now that there are fewer shadows to impede your view. How very opulent your young mistress's abode is. The princess herself, meanwhile, is curled on her side beneath the sheets. Aww, looking rather less grandiose than her title would suggest. She's very cute, I'm sure. Can we see that, please? She is attired in a nightgown, adorned with frills, and her hair is split across her pillow like spilled cold. That sounds so cute, oh! In her slender arms, meanwhile, held to her chest, is a doll. The very same one she was cosseting last night. Right, I forgot about that. You suppose this doll must be her favorite. Ideally, you wonder what the doll's name is, though you do not suppose it matters all that much. You call out to the princess, but she is largely unresponsive. Her eyelashes are still sewn tightly shut, and her lips are pursed in slumber. You purse your lips too and sigh. Well, nobody ever said your job would be easy. Definitely not. I mean, we saw her. She's got some attitude. Once again, you call to the princess, and this time she replies. Her response is not a favorable one, however. She sighs, then turns away from you, her doll clutched to her chest. Just give me a little longer. The princess sounds so enfeebled, but you do not take pity on it. If you have learned anything from the conservatoire, save for knowledge pertaining to the respiratory tracts of fish, it is that one must be cruel to be kind. I don't think their cruelty was kind at all, but sure. You tell her once again to wake up, more sternly this time. You will not let her sleep, for she has slept long enough already. It is very slovenly, really. You still be abed at such an hour. Well, goodness, but that was a difficult sentence to say, oh my goodness. Oh, defeated, the princess sighs. Alright, I can see that I can't twist you around my little finger. Ah, that's so cute! Oh my goodness! Ah, that's adorable, I love it. That's 10 out of 10, very sweet, very cute. I'm up, you don't need to nag me. Once you have roused the princess from her bed, you have put her doll to one side and you sit upon her toiletée. That's not how you spell toilet, so I'm not really sure how that's pronounced. Oh my goodness, that is adorable. That is so cute. Oh my gosh. You aid the princess in the brushing of her hair, a chore to which she submits willingly, like a cat might allow its fur to be brushed. So cute. I wouldn't mind being her maid, except I'm a dude. I wouldn't mind being her butler. There we go. You allow yourself to ponder as you run the bristles of the princess's brush through her hair, how wonderfully soft it feels against your skin. But a curious query from the princess. Are you alright, dear one? Brings you back to your senses. Why does everybody call me dear one? That's weird, especially from her. You were rather lost in thought there. Look lively now. You wouldn't want the princess to catch wind of your salacious thoughts, would you? Suitably chastened, you finish with the princess's hair, then set the brush aside. Now that the princess's tresses have been taken care of, you must start on her attire. Does that mean we get to undress her? Nice. The princess remains seated upon the edge of her bed, looking up at you askance. She does not ask you to avert your eyes, and nor does she make any motion of divesting herself of her nightgown. It really does seem as though she expects you to undertake this task on your own. Oh boy. Is that alright? You ask the princess as much. You would not wish to impinge upon her modesty, but she only laughs. Yes, that's alright. It's what you're supposed to do if you're to be my lady's maid. I'm used to being dressed and undressed. I'm not a bit squeamish about it. She might not be a bit squeamish about it, but you are. You have never seen a naked woman before, excepting yourself. Even then, however, you have always dressed and undressed furtively, not wanting to examine your body for longer than is strictly necessary. Why? What's wrong with your body? I'm sure it's very, very nice. Maybe not as nice as hers, but I mean, what are we saying? You have never much liked the way you had the way that you look. Why? You're gorgeous. I mean, look at this. Look at this tiny little image of you. You make a few more mumbled objections, but the princess sweeps them to one side easily. It's alright. I might be a princess, but we're both people underneath all of our clothes. I doubt we look much different. You are not so sure about that. You steady your nerves. Then, boo! Then you reach out with trembling hands and you begin to undo the buttons which run down the front of the princess's nightgown. The princess, however, seems blissfully unaware of what it is exactly you are doing, or not doing, for your fingers have begun to seize up with the front of her nightgown. She is not even looking at you. Instead, her gaze is directed beyond your shoulder, to the windowsill and the sky beyond it. It isn't particularly sunny, but I don't think it's too cold outside. I'm going for a walk might not be a bad idea. What do you think, dear one? You think that you would like to finish undressing the princess as soon as possible so you can make some progress on dressing her again. You bid the princess to stand, which she does, and neatly she steps out of her nightgown, her motions once again as graceful, as fluid as a dancer's. This task completed, you search hurriedly, worriedly for the princess's red dress. You cannot find it. The moments pass awkwardly, uneasily, as you search, the princess standing there, all the while as naked as the day she was born. Wonderful. Why did you not find her dress before you stripped her of her night one? The princess, noting your panic, giggles, then says, "Are you looking for my dress?" "Yes," you reply, your face flushed. "That is what you were doing." "I thought so. I did wonder before you started undressing me why you'd not asked where it was. Maybe it slipped your mind?" She's a silly one, our pink-haired girl. You were too busy trying not to fixate upon the princess's bared skin to think about how best to conceal it. "My dress is in my armoire," the princess says, glancing over to the aforementioned piece of furniture. "I like to wear the red one. It's my favorite. Would you be a dear and fetch it for me?" "I don't want to rush you, but it is rather cold in here, especially when I'm still naked. You don't need to remind us of what we're missing out on. I mean, of what's happening behind us." She raises a good point. Inside that wardrobe lies numerous dresses, all of them finely sewn and decorated with no shortage of ribbons, lace and iridescent pearls. You find the princess's red dress soon enough, then hurry to her side. Ah, there we go. Very, very cute. I like her. Adorable! With your spoils in hand, you hurry to dress her, concealing once again the princess's pale skin beneath layers upon layers of soft red velvet. She is easier to look at now, you think, with her skin concealed. Easier, but not as good. What? That might have been the most nerve-wracking task you have ever had to accomplish. Even more so than your perilous escape through the foggy forest. Ah, that's much better. Thank you, dear one, for your help. You've not been here for a full day, but I already wonder what I'd do without you. Shyly, you assure the princess that you did nothing, really. Nothing beyond your job. How did you dress yourself last night in the nightgown? And in any case, being complimented by someone so pretty is embarrassing. Oh, don't be like that. I want to compliment you. Why shouldn't I? When you've been so helpful, it'd be rude not to. And anyway, I think you're really pretty too. Oh my. Your face flushes from this more deeply than ever before. You ought to count yourself lucky, really, that with all this excessive blushing, that the princess does not seem to possess any vampiristic tendencies. Yet. She does look a lot like a vampire and has a lot of teeth on her outfit. I mean, it's kind of freaking me out, but still. Now, the princess declares, why don't we go for a walk? It's a nice enough day and I get so very bored of being cooped up inside. You can't think of any particular objections to raise to this remark, and you think the princess might have a point. She seems not to walk as she navigates her way through the seemingly endless hallways of her home, but to float like a cloud. The castle's courtyard, meanwhile, is sadly lacking in comparison to the princess's beauty. That is quite the compliment. Jeez, that's lacking? She really is beautiful. The courtyard is fenced in by the castle's walls, which look in the stark midday light tall and imposing, faceless soldiers standing sentinel. That's nice. That's quite nice. Okay, it is lacking a little bit. There's a lot of dirt. The flowers are very plain white. It could use a few more roses, a few more flowers going in there, bigger bushes, just less dirt all around. Though the sun is out, it is not particularly bright, and neither is it particularly warm. The courtyard itself, meanwhile, is in a state of disarray. The flower beds are in shambles, all overgrown with weeds. It is all rather depressing. The princess, however, seems not to share your dolorous mood. She instead looks elated by her newfound surroundings, her smile unwavering. Ah, so precious. She gambols about like a lamb, it's adorable, flitting hither and thither as she examines the weed-infested flower beds. Her frolicking comes to cease, however, by a bush. One is full of bright red roses. That's more like it. Adorable. I love when she makes that face. Oh, how very pretty. Do you not think they are gorgeous, dear one? The flowers are not too disappointing, you suppose. That's quite nice. I think it's pretty nice. I think it's alright. Though the other flowers in their beds are wilted and withered things, it is not so for these roses. But there is something unsettling about them too. Something that is almost obscene. How did those red roses become so very red? What has been sustaining them? Could it be possible that these roses have been draining the life from the other flowers which are struggling to grow within this garden? Maybe she really is a vampire. I mean, it's hinting at it. It is hinting at it a lot, and I don't like it. The princess holds her newly pilfered rose to her nose and inhales, her eyelids falling shut as the flower's sweet scent washes over her. Now, let me see. I wonder what fate has in store for me. She loves me? The princess plucks a petal from the flower's overburdened head. She loves me not. Oh, she's swaying. What was that? The princess continues with this childish incantation, all the while stripping her rose slowly and methodically of its petals. These petals flutter about the princess like bloody snow. She loves me not. She loves me not. The princess's fingers hover over a petal which crowns her nearly denuded flower. Then, with a triumphant smile, she declares, she loves me, I knew it. You talking about me? Because yes, I do. You watch the princess amused by her girlish good cheer. The little mantra she has been reciting is one that you are familiar with. The girls at the conservatoire also used to engage in this little game, the younger ones, at least, who believed that a fairy tale prince would whisk them away. Pleasantly, you ask the princess whose love it is she wishes to court, a query which makes the princess giggle. I bet it does. Oh dear one, who else would I be thinking of? Me? Naturally, I was thinking of you. Oh my gosh, naturally! You begin to blush, your cheeks almost as red as the roses, while the princess laughs. That was quite the amusing diversion, but I've just had an idea. You look at the princess curiously. I just thought that all this watching must be boring you, the princess says, tossing the rose's stripped stem carelessly to the ground. You should give it a try. Please do, it'll be fun. The princess retrieves a second red rose from the bushes, deftly snapping it between her fingers, and offers it to you. I have a red rose, hang on. There we go. Have a red rose. My pleasure. Okay, there we go. That's a bit dustier than I expected. Goodness me. Wipe that off. I want to see what fate has in store for you too. You smile at the princess, touched by her enthusiasm. Indulging in childish games like this might not be the best use of her time, but the princess looks so very determined, you would not wish to hurt her. You reach out, meaning to accept the princess's offering, but oh no! You are clumsy, and you seize the stem of the rose with a touch too much strength. The head of the rose might be pretty, but there is more to a rose than its bright red flowers. Roses have thorns too, a fact that you are now being painfully reminded of. Why were you so stupid? You poor dear, you're bleeding, the princess exclaims, alarmed. Then she frowns. This is all my fault. If I'd not suggested this silly game, this never would have happened. Please let me take care of you. And how is she going to do that? Perhaps she means to take a handkerchief from her pocket with which she might staunch your wound. Please hold still, this might sting a little bit. The princess is anything but ordinary. Rather than take a handkerchief out of her pocket, she instead encloses her white fingers around your hand. Carefully, as though she is handling a precious object, she raises your hand. Her eyes, fixed all the while on the beads of startlingly crimson blood which are oozing luridly from your wound. She licks her lower lip. Then she dips her head. Well, I got an achievement for that. Well, that's nice. She is really quite beautiful, especially in this artwork. That is really, really nice. And she's cute too, though not as cute as normal. Not a fan of the maid's outfit on her, but geez, the princess though. She parts her mouth, and with a soft sigh which borders on the sensuous, she slips your injured digit between her teeth. Very sensuous indeed, just like with Natsuki that one time. This might not be a conventional kiss, but feels intimate regardless, almost startlingly so. The princess's lips, which are as red as any rose, are enclosed around your index finger. You can feel the warmth of the princess's mouth about your skin and the wetness of it. Tremulously, with a voice that wavers, you ask the princess what it is she is doing. Oh? The princess glances up at you, her mouth still enclosed around your finger. Didn't I tell you? I'm trying to stop the bleeding. Yes, you gathered as much, but... Is there a problem? I'm not making you uncomfortable, am I? Well, a little bit, but only in very good ways. It is not, you say, that she is making you uncomfortable per se, but this is rather awkward. You did not expect it, that is all. You need to chill out and be a little more smooth, girl, come on. And is she not worried that this is unhygienic? I mean, you should be clean enough, right? Unhygienic? The princess blinks. She is the very picture of innocence, which is funny, really, given your finger is still nestled against her tongue. Nice. I do not know what you mean by that exactly. But I've heard this is the best way to take care of cuts. My nursemaid used to do this for me when I was a child. It's what you're supposed to do. How very interesting. And did they ever clean your wounds like this? No, the princess says, smiling mischievously, because I'm not clumsy enough to cut myself, silly. Now, that was quite the sharp retort. Fair enough, though. You did not expect it. Yeah, she's a tease. I love it. What? Your injury was not a deep one. There should be no need for the princess to keep on suckling, but she still is. And you like it, don't you? You are not accustomed to intimacy of this nature. It is making your heart flutter. Definitely the best route so far. I mean, this is getting as romantic as they come, though the music is awfully suspicious. You feel quietly, crushingly confident that she would scorn you for your feelings and deem them unnatural. It would not be the first time. She just said that you wanted you to love her, so I don't think it's that unnatural for her. At this point, you should be used to rejection. It still stings, though. It stings much, much more than any thorn on any rose ever could. The days pass, following your misadventures in the rose garden in a relaxed, unhurried sort of manner. Your mad dash through the forest is beginning to feel like a distant memory, so much so you can scarcely recall the raw, naked fear you once felt as you fled for your life. There is no running to be had while you are working for the princess. You would have nowhere else to run, and in any event, there is no longer any reason to run. You can scarcely recall as you lay down in your bed the petty cruelties you were subjected to by your classmates at the conservatoire. They no longer matter. Your attention is focused not upon yourself, but upon the princess. The princess is not half so ignorant as you are, though, despite having spent her whole life within a palace's walls. The weight of her own feelings are not unknown to her, and during one stormy night, she chooses to make them known to you, in case it wasn't obvious enough already. You're in the princess's chambers, later, perhaps, than you ought to be, later than is strictly appropriate. It is dark outside, and there is very little save the light of the moon to alleviate it. That and the fire which crackles in the grate. You have only just finished stoking that very fire, and now you rise. You look to the princess, who is lying in her bed, and you bid her good night, as you have many nights past. Wait, dear one, do not go. Not just yet. Perplexed, you pause, then look back at the princess. She kind of reminds me of Nagi-san, only a lot less tsundere. Just the whole butler princess sort of thing. Though she is smiling, her expression is unusually wan. Is she alright? Oh, I'm sure I'll be fine. It's just nights like this, you know, which make me feel a little out of sorts. Oh, she's not a vampire, she's a werewolf, of course! And what, you asked, does she mean by that? Only that it is very cold and very dark. And it is very windy, besides. I'm afraid there'll be a storm later. It was awfully cloudy earlier when we went out for our walk. As her lady's maid, it is your job to fret for her. You would never want your mistress to feel unhappy. You ask the princess what it is she would have you do, and the princess perks up at this, pleased, perhaps, that you are taking the initiative. Would you mind sitting with me a little while longer? And reading to me? Provided you can, of course. This is a fair enough question, but your pride bristles regardless. Hastily, you reassure your princess that, yes, of course, you could read. Intrigued, you ask the princess what books exactly she does like. Well, I'm glad you asked. I'm fond of fairy tales, you see. Old ones, from centuries past. Old English. I studied that, and it is rather difficult. I mean, I didn't find it that hard. You just sort of read the words, and they're pretty easy to understand. For me, I don't know. I like linguistics, so I thought it was easy, but hey. I have a collection of them here, the princess says, indicating a book on her bedside table, as thick as a mortuary slab. The book is old though, and the bindings are weak. The page is brittle, the writing woefully old-fashioned. I didn't trust any of my past servants with that book, but I think you would do a good job breathing life into those old stories. Would you mind reading for me? Just a brief while. Please, dear one, oh please. So cute. You take a seat beside the princess upon her luxurious bed, which sinks beneath your weight. Then, you retrieve the leather-bound book which is resting upon her bedside table and spread it open. But that's not the only thing you want to spread open. The pages of the book are very brittle, like the princess said, and the bindings of the book are loose. Better be careful with it then. It is with a quiet voice, hesitant at first, that you begin to read the princess a tale of courtly love which accumulates in a lavish wedding ceremony. You read the whole damn book? We're gonna be up all night! Once you reach the final phrase embossed upon the pages of this aged tome, and they lived happily ever after, the princess sighs, as though this tale has touched her very soul. Again, how did we read the whole thing in one night? My goodness. Would that there was a handsome prince to marry me, she says somberly, or better yet, a beautiful princess. At this point, I think I would even settle for a lowly scullery maid. Hint, hint. You blush at this idle remark and mumble softly that this would not be proper. The storm outside is still squalling, and you have never been one to raise your voice. You do not expect, therefore, that the princess will overhear you, but she does. Vampires do have good ears. She observes you, her head resting against her pillows, and says, "And what would be the problem of that, As my maid, shouldn't my happiness come before any silly ideas of propriety?" "Well, of course," you reply, "but for a princess to marry a scullery maid..." "You're still hung up about that?" the princess titters. "Don't pay it too much heed, I'm just talking to myself." As if anything like that would ever happen, when there is no priest around who would officiate it. You think there are greater issues with the princess's plan than the lack of a priest, though she does present a good point. "That was a nice story," the princess says, "but I'm not sleepy yet, and it's still storming outside. Won't you read me one more?" "You would not mind," you reply, "but it is getting late. You really ought to return to your own bedchamber." "I know, but you can find it in your heart to read one story to me, just one. You can choose a short one, I won't complain." You have some doubts about that, but, as before, you cannot resist the princess's demands. You read another story to the princess, which is of a similar vein to the last. Impossible adventures culminating at their close in a happy marriage. Hint, hint. This tale delights the princess, but just as much as the tale you read prior, and she begs for another, and another. One bedroom story soon becomes 5, and even then, when the candles which flicker on the princess's bedside are close to guttering out, the princess is not satisfied. "I think I could go to sleep now, but the storm is still raging. I feel lonely on my own, in this big empty bed, so..." "I know," the princess's eyes light up like the night sky in a thunderstorm. "Why don't you sleep with me?" "Goodness me, that would be very improper." You stare at the princess, your eyes wide as goose eggs. Slowly, you blink. Then, just as slowly, you bid her to repeat herself. "Didn't you hear me?" the princess giggles. "Maybe you've been so busy cleaning up after me, you've neglected to clean out your own ears. I said, dear one, would you like to sleep with me?" "And how could I say no, you know?" "Well, what's the matter, dear one? Why do you tarry so? Could it be..." The princess's lower lip begins to tremble. "Don't you want to lie with me after all?" The sorrow present in the princess's voice and in her face makes you feel awfully guilty. Hurriedly, you console her. You tell her in no uncertain terms that if she truly wishes to partake in your company, you would have no qualms with it. Why would you? "Well then, don't just stand there dilly-dallying, silly. Come and join me, come." And that is what you do, after returning briefly to your own chamber to change into your nightgown. Once dressed, you waste no time in returning to your impetuous princess's side. The princess giggles when she sees you. In your haste to change, you have made a hash of the buttons, and she bids you to come closer. Oh, is she gonna do it for us? Oh my. "Let me fix that for you, silly." "Oh no," you say. "I couldn't possibly let you do that. I am but a servant after all." "Should it not be your job to dress her?" Maybe so, the princess says, but I don't mind a bit of role reversal. It makes things more fun. Role reversal, huh? Oh, you have to put it like that, don't you? You let the princess unbutton the front of your nightdress, then rebutton them, so the fabric of your plain gown is drawn shut. Satisfied with her handiwork, she has very elegant hands, the princess draws back and pats the mattress beside her. Your face is as red as the gown of the princess so often wears, as red as the roses in the castle's grounds. All the while, your heart is fluttering. Does the princess know what an effect she is having on you? There, the princess exclaims, once your body is lying beside hers. Oh, the nice music, finally. That is much better. Do you feel cozy now, dear one? You swallow, and with a shaky voice, you reassure her. Yes, you are very cozy. Quite cozy indeed. It's strange, but the princess reaches out and takes your hand in hers, twining your fingers together like a chain. When I'm with you, I feel so very light, as though nothing in this world can hurt me. You make me feel safe, so I want to make you feel safe too. I'll take very good care of you, I promise. You return her smile with one of your own, touched by her thoughtfulness, though something about her promise does make you wonder. Should it not be your job to look after her, as a domestic? In a way, the princess replies after a pause, but you've been taking good care of me already. Now I need to return the favor. Your eyelids begin to droop. Your body, beluged by a sudden all-consuming fatigue. Oh, that was sweet. I like that. That was very nice. And, in a quiet, understated sort of way, your consciousness is conveyed to Morpheus's kingdom. Your sleep is a deep one, perhaps the storm which rages outdoors. Swaddled by the warm blankets around you and soothed by the princess's presence, you are immune from all the ills of the world. When you are with the princess, you feel safe, secure, and, yes, you even feel loved. Fleeting moment, probably. It is a pity, then, that these feelings do not last for very long. Oh, I do not like the look of this. This does not look like an ideal situation. You know that something is wrong, catastrophically so, the moment you open your eyes. Your thoughts are hopelessly jumbled, but you are certain that when you fell asleep, it was in a bed, a nice warm bed no less, beneath soft, comfortable sheets. Oh, that does not look very good. At least I look good. Damn! I guess that's what happened to the other maids then. Yep, seeing how those skeletons are dressed. Damn, I look good though. You are standing instead against a cold, hard wall made of stone. The curve of your back is pressed against the wall so intimately you can feel its icy chill seeping through the fabric of your nightgown. Your feet, which are bare, are similarly pressed against cold, unfeeling stone. You swallow, and when you do, you can taste something bitter on your tongue. Your stomach is beginning to churn with anxiety. You feel like you're going to be sick, a feeling which wells up inside you to a staggering degree when you catch notice of the stench. You are not, you realize, the only one in the dungeon. There are others here. Others attired in a simple black and white outfits of servants, which look much like the dress that you once wore. They are all dead. Oh, we got the spooky version of the main theme, okay. Over there you see a woman slumped in the front of her once white apron stained with blackish blood. There is a gaping wound in her stomach, one through which her entrails have half escaped, and some sort of burgundy goop which might have once been pale pink. The injuries inflicted upon these bodies are ghastly, but their advanced decay is enough to turn your stomach. Fitfully you struggle against the manacles which bind you, but alas, it is no use. You cannot free yourself from the walls. We should get an anime of this, that'd probably be really good. It is obvious that the escape is impossible, but still you squirm and writhe like a rat caught in a firestorm. You are making enough noise to raise the dead down there in your dark, dingy cell, and all your screaming is hardly helping matters. Nothing I say could ever get through to you. Not that you have ever listened to me in the first place. Perhaps you would listen to her, though. Is she not your kind, considerate mistress? Oh geez, she's looking a lot scarier now. I mean, it's the same model, but just the background difference makes it quite unnerving. Look now, she has come all this way into the dark depths of the castle's cold, inhospitable dungeon to see you. What? No, I don't want to quit. Whoa! No, dear one, the princess trills, entering the dungeon with a series of light, lilting steps. It would seem like you've finally awoken. How are you? Based on all that infernal racket you've been making, it would seem like you have no shortage of energy. Balefully, you turn your head so as to meet the eyes of the princess. She is standing but a few paces away beneath the roughly hewn stone arch which bids one entry, but rarely ever an exit, to the dungeons. Once the red of the princess's outfit made you think of romance. Now it makes you think of violence. Yeah, very true. I mean, that shift in just perception was really strong. You must forgive me for leaving you down here so long. That was unfair of me. I did think of waiting here with you by your side until you awoke, but once again the princess giggles, a light airy giggle which does not at all suit the situation in which you have found yourself. A dungeon is not a fit place after all for a princess. It is horribly cold here and so very drab, and there is nowhere nice and soft to lay my head. Still smiling, the princess takes another step towards you. Would that you could. You would cringe away from her, but you cannot. You are completely powerless. Oh my. That's kind of creepy. Swaying towards you like a ghost. The princess reaches out and places a hand upon your cheek. You've been so lovely to me while we've been together. I really couldn't ask for a better servant. I feel as though I've been spoiled. You have? Jeez. Why then, you ask her, is she doing this? Why, you ask, is this so natural to her? What does she mean to do with you? Oh, only what I've done to all of my other servants. I have experience with this sort of thing, so please don't worry. I'll take good care of you. And by take good care of, she means, naturally I'll kill you. There it is again. That word which seems so grossly inappropriate given all which has transpired. The princess examines you, her expressions ponderous. It is natural to me. Even if it isn't natural to other people, this just feels right. Prisoning her servants in a dungeon and letting them die? Yes, exactly. There is a bit more to it than that, though. I like you, dear one, the princess says in a voice which sounds uncommonly serious. You have been good to me, like I said, and kind. For that, I will be eternally appreciative. You've been so good to me, in fact, that simply being with you is not enough. Not anymore. Your company can no longer content me. I'm a greedy, selfish girl, you see. The princess's smile widens into something sinister, her eyes flashing with a fiendish fervor you have never before witnessed. And I don't want to feel you beside me. Okay? I want to feel you inside me. We can't do that, we're both girls. Sorry, you'll just have to let me go. That is what you meant, right? I'm hoping. You don't mean you're gonna eat me. You're not gonna eat me, are you? All of the things your charming captive could have said, you did not expect that. The princess, perhaps noticing your confusion, begins to giggle, a giggle even lighter than meringue, and just as eerie. I don't think it should be too complicated to grasp, really. But maybe my way of looking at the world is a little bit unique. Yeah, that's a word for it. That is why my nurse always used to say, at least, when she still had a breath to speak, of course. Tremulously, you ask the princess what she means. A question the princess is only too happy to answer. It's simple, really. Like I said, you were wondering, weren't you, why there weren't any guards or any servants in the castle when you first arrived here? The question had crossed your mind, yes. Well, you are sure that the princess said her ministers sent them away, though? Was that a lie? I wasn't being wholly truthful, no. I thought you would be afraid of me if you knew that what had actually happened, and I didn't want that. My ministers didn't send anybody away because I don't have any ministers. I dispatched of them too. My ministers weren't very much fun, I'm afraid. They had a lot of ideas about what I should and shouldn't do after my parents died, so I killed them. I killed my servants too, though I did a more thorough job with them than I did my ministers. I did not care for my ministers, you see. They were all fusty old men, but I did love my servants. I loved my ladies' maids, and my undermaids, and my scullery maids, and my housekeeper, and my cooks, and my large retinue of retainers. They were like my family. They raised me in my parents' absence, and I adored them. They were so very dear to me that I had no real choice. I had to eat them. Did you have to? Is that true? Does that follow? No! Why, you asked the princess, your voice trembling. Would you eat the people that you love? It seems a poor way to repay them for their kindness. Well, why wouldn't you eat the people that you love? I don't think there could be any greater way of showcasing one's gratitude unless you have any better ideas. You know precious little about love yourself, so it is hard for you to form a convincing rebuttal, but you must drop a few token arguments. You tell the princess that eating people isn't very nice, and neither is it strictly legal. A better way to show your gratitude to your servants would be with increased wages or increased holidays. The princess listens to your arguments, her expression astute, like a student poised to take notes on a very important lecture. Once you have finished, however, her concentration fails her. Her shoulders begin to shake, but it is not with remorse for what she has done. Instead, she is laughing. Oh dear one, that's very funny, but why should I care about the law? I'm a princess. One day I'll be the queen. I am the law. That is a good point, but would eating people not turn her subjects against her? What subjects? I'm no fool, you know. No matter how I might act, I know what happens beyond the castle's walls. I know all about the plague. Ah, the plague! So the plague is going on. Interesting. Very interesting. I wonder if we're going to learn more about the plague and the true ending. Once I might have had a populace to govern, but they're all gone now. I'm a princess and nothing but name only. A monarch without any subject. Don't you think that's sad? I know I do. It's so woefully lonely. If she feels lonely, then why has she been systematically slaughtering all of her domestics? Doesn't make a lick of sense. But I shouldn't judge you too harshly. As much as I like you, dear one, you are a commoner. Perhaps you can't understand the intricacies of my thoughts. Privately, you doubt that anybody would be able to understand the intricacies of the princess's thought process, largely because it is unreasonable. You do not say that, though. Instead, you ask her the only question you can think to ask, with your weary throat which is sore from shouting. Why? Why, you ask? The princess blinks. It's because I don't want you to leave me, of course. Everybody leaves sooner or later. Whether they've pledged their allegiance to me or not, that is simply the way of the world. People are fickle and inconsistent, even to me, a monarch. That is why I decided to eat my servants. I had no choice, you see. It was the only way to ensure that they would never leave me. I love every single one of you. And naturally, I love you too. You've been awfully nice to me. And you're very pretty alongside it. If you were a plain, ugly girl, perhaps I would not shower you with affection quite as intense as this, but you've captured my heart. I think you're lovely. So, I'll bestow upon you the highest honor I can conceive of. I want your body to mix with mine. Then we can stay together forever and ever. Princess leans in. You can feel her soft silken hair brushing against your cheeks. Can feel too the warmth of her breath as it ghosts against your skin. Her eyes are wide and her lips are so red. Her smile, meanwhile, is so sweet. I've been doing my best to fulfill the role that fate has dictated for me, but really? The princess exhales. Her eyes, which are boring into yours, are like two dark tarns. Finally, you think you can see in the alarming lack of light, lack of anything, in the princess's gauge some degree of humanity. It gets so lonely here. Roll credits! But this brief flicker of understanding which passes between the pair of you is soon cut short. The princess dips her head. She parts her lips, which are red as the petals of a carnivorous flower. You feel the princess's breath against your neck. It is warm in the icy chill of the dungeon, then you shudder from it. I really did. For a few moments, you think that this overture of the princess's could be romantic in a way, but this too comes to a swift, merciless close. Ah! I don't need to hear it. Princess's mouth is on your neck. You're eating her alive? The princess's teeth, sharp as needles, are in your flesh. The princess is draining your blood in great greedy goblets like a hungry animal, one who cannot truly comprehend the harm it is causing. Even as the princess subs from you, her arms twined around your waist, you feel you cannot hate her. She is far too unworldly. You are sure, as your consciousness begins to fade, that the princess was being sincere when she spoke of her love for her past servants. This is simply the way the princess expresses this great love of hers, a love which is so very abundant it borders upon the monstrous. It is a love you never thought that you would ever experience. In the face of her love, you have met your match. As with many Yanderes, the princess draws back. Desperately you gasp for air, but she does not give you any quarter. As before, she dips her head, her red lips redder still with your blood, then splits apart her jaw. Her teeth, which are impossibly inhumanly sharp, glint wickedly like knives. Then she tears out your throat. The front of your nightgown was white once. Now it is red. So much blood you can smell it when you inhale, sharper than metal. It is so potent that you can taste it on your tongue. Your whole body, meanwhile, feels as though it is on fire. You make for quite the sorry sight indeed. But you'll forgive me if my sympathy is limited. You did bring this upon yourself, you know. You reap what you sow, and in your case, you made a series of bad decisions which led you to your untimely demise. Now, what do you want to do? Will you accept this fate of yours and rest in peace, or will you try to fight against it? I guess the choice is ours, but let's save here. I accept my fate. Really? You're fine with being eaten alive in a dark, dingy dungeon than being left to rot? That does not sound like a very satisfying ending to this particular narrative, but if that's what you want, then so be it. I do not mind indulging you. That is what I have always done, after all, from the moment we first met. I have dedicated myself tirelessly to answering your wishes, and this is no different. Do not be so selfish to think, though, that you can escape me, even if your life's blood has mingled with that of the princess's. I'm not going to relinquish my hold upon you that easily. I did pledge, after all, to remain by your side, come what will, fire or flood. I will never leave you. You will never be lonely again. It gets so lonely here. That, ladies and gentlemen, wraps up today's episode. I hope you all enjoyed. If you want to see the second ending, fight against your fate, then be sure to subscribe for the next episode, which will most likely be the final episode of the series. It will include the next ending for this, as well as the true ending, and we'll finally understand the truth of the narrator. Who is she that is speaking to us? What is her purpose? Who is chasing us? Only time will tell. If you want to find out too, then be sure to leave a like, subscribe, comment down below, let me know what you thought. Let me know which has been your favorite girl so far if you've been watching the whole series. And thank you also very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed today's episode of It Gets So Lonely Here. My name has been Senkara, and until next time, see ya.